Which leads me to the next session, which is cleaning up misplaced overrides. So the session probably won't take a full 45 minutes. Let's see who's coming in after me. John Joyner will be joining afterwards. So maybe just before I do the misplaced overrides, I'm going to share with you the workflow report. It's a little bit disconnected from the rest of the stuff, but it's a very popular feature. We get asked all the time, can you show me what's running on any given agent? And yes, we can show that. In fact, not only can we show you the rules, monitors, and discoveries that are running on that agent, we can show you what overrides have been configured, all in one nice report. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Now I ran this report already. Let me show you how I got there first. So I've got two management groups registered. You have a choice to access this report. What I did was I just simply chose report on workflow running on a server, and I specified the server name in here. I'll show you that report in a minute. You do have an option to first get a list of all the agents. And so my environment is pretty small, and I remember most of the names of the servers in our environment, but you might have several more. And this is actually on its own an interesting report because you can look at things like IP address, health status, the version number. So maybe you're upgrading your agents and you just want to track and see. I see right here I've got a SILMAN 10 select, and that looks like a newer version out there than the rest of them. So it kind of makes me curious what version that is. So there's heartbeat information in here, but the reason I brought this up is you can then choose to view the running workflow on one of those servers. I do see I've got an error with our TFS server, at least as far as Operations Manager is concerned. So you could run that agent summary. Now let's go to that report. And workflow running on SILMAN SCOM. Okay, here it is. Now I'm just going to draw your attention to the tab up above, and here you can see I've got 1,263 rules, monitors, and discoveries running on this server. So that on its own is good information, and yeah, we can put it in this table and you can scroll through it all, but as you've seen already, you can also customize this grid. So let's play around and make this a little bit easier to work with. I like to group by type. So right at a glance, I can tell you I've got 157 discoveries running against that one server. Is that surprising to anybody? To me, it's surprising. That's a lot. So, okay. And I've got 358 monitors, 504 rules, and one element that's unaccounted for. So I'm not done yet. Let's customize this a little bit. I'm a believer. I want to see these based on the MP. So I've got 50 different management packs running at least one discovery. And I've got 21 management packs running at least one monitor against the server. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a look. The Microsoft System Center 2007, this has 57 different monitors running against this management, against this agent. And now you can see that same blue color, and you're probably willing to guess by now, those are the overrides that exist for the monitor directly above. Okay, so the unit monitor here has 3 overrides just below it, row 211, 12, and 13, and we can see, let's just scroll a little bit more. In the information column, you can see the threshold settings are 75, 75, and the enabled status set to false. So that's a very useful report. There's no automation available yet for this. However, in the next release, we will have some automation available that will allow you to schedule this report. Okay, so look for that to come in the near future. Okay, let's move on to misplaced overrides, and as a part of this, I'm going to show how to deploy the the overrides after you clean them up, and that was the missing piece from our previous best practices. And perhaps one of the two ways I'll show you to deploy, if we come back to our management groups, let's expand that store folder. Let's do this. My project folder. Trust me, I'm going to get to cleaning up misplaced overrides here in a second. We were working on this MP, and I did everything. I did some authoring and override management, documentation, and the whole bit, but the last thing was to deploy it, and I didn't show that to you. So we're going to do it two ways. One of them I'll do right now, and that's an ad hoc deploy. It's just simply right-click on, I'm going to pick the second last one, and right-click and choose deploy. And so from here, I can pick any of the registered management groups. I'm going to deploy that out to my corporate environment. Okay, so just click on OK, and you'd be able to do that. And so this is going to kick that off, and there may be some risks associated with this, and I'm sure the developers on the call are wondering what I'm doing, but let's go ahead and run that deploy. We should get a confirmation. We can see the status in the bottom left-hand corner indicating it's deploying that management pack. So all of that can be done from MP Studio, and so best practice, once you've done your test and you're confirmed it's not going to generate too many alerts, you can use that ad hoc method to deploy the management pack, or you can use the group compare, which I'm going to show at the end of this session. So we'll see that by 2:30. If not sooner. Okay, on to misplaced overrides. Now, the first thing you want to do is to discover the misplaced overrides. It can be a challenge, it can be a chore, it can be a lot of work to find out where those bad boys are. Where did those overrides get stored? Because, you know, maybe it's a legacy environment, you've been brought in to clean it up. And so you've taken over, and the guy before you was saving overrides in the default management pack, or accidentally stored them in the Active Directory override management pack. So there's lots of ways to get this messed up. But the tricky part is cleaning it up, and oftentimes it doesn't get cleaned up. And it can be very complicated to troubleshoot overrides, because you could have multiple overrides, and it can be tricky to understand which one is the effective override. It's a complex series of rules that determines that. But bottom line is you don't want overrides stored all over the place, and the best practice from Microsoft is to have a single override management pack dedicated to each of your key management packs. So let's start from there. Now, if you suspect, the first way I'm going to demonstrate how to resolve this or work with it is if you suspect a sealed MP has overrides stored in multiple places. Maybe you've seen a warning message or an error message that's told you this. Okay, so I've opened up this Windows Server 2012 monitoring MP, and you can see in the tab above, this is in my corporate environment. Okay, so this is a production MP, and it's the sealed MP. So if I pick the referencing overrides, this will show me the overrides that have been created in production. Now, MP Studio tracks the location, and that's why I brought you here to see this report first, because this is going to show us for this one MP where the overrides exist. Now, like Mike before me, I am at the mercy of our VPN. And I don't think anybody mentioned we had a major power outage yesterday, touch wood. We've had our outage for the week. I do have Hyper-V running, and I could go to that if we needed to, but we'll just bear with this for a minute. And you see me customize the grid by dragging columns up to the upper left-hand corner. And so that's what I'm going to use in order to discover these misplaced overrides. While we're waiting for that to refresh, I'm going to show you another way, and that's right from the documentation. So this report we're looking at, you can see the title above across the top of this spreadsheet. This is Microsoft Windows Server 2012 monitoring. This is the full report. This is the workbook that you export. And if I scroll all the way to the right, and let's go to the first tab, there's the summary, here's our rules. Remember we looked at this earlier? Well, we also document the overrides in here. So you can see here's a tab, 125 referencing overrides. It's all the same data in here as you see in the console view, which I'm going to show you in a minute when that refreshes. Here's the context column, okay? And if you scroll all the way to the end, you'll see the referencing MP name column. And I'll ask you to just start scanning down there, and you can see the first, I don't know, dozens of these overrides. I'm not at the top, but so good OR Windows Server 2012 monitoring. We've got about 56 or so overrides stored in there. But look at the next one. The next half a dozen or dozen overrides are stored in the default management pack. That's not good. This just in, that's not good. And from this report, I can confirm to my manager, yes, whoever did this before made a mistake. They probably didn't realize they were doing it because it's so easy. And again, I can see lots of heads nodding, and I can hear that. You guys have all done it, I'm sure. And it's just human nature and so easy to do. So we've got overrides stored here, and if you look at the name of that management pack, this is my Active Directory Server 2008 monitoring overrides. And then there's another one, override Windows Server 2012 monitoring overrides. Let's see if we've got any more in here. Yes, we do. Here's another one. Okay, these ones are shipped with the Windows Server 2012. So we can see we've got overrides stored in several different management packs. Now I need to find a way to clean them up. So this is the first way. You could suspect a sealed MP and just go ahead and run that document report. Now you can take this to your manager and say, look, I need some time to do this. And I see my, in the console, it's still refreshing there. That's disappointing. I'm not just sure why that's happening. We're going to be patient with that a little bit longer. That's unfortunate. Okay. Well, we've got half an hour for this session, so what I'm going to propose we do here is exit and come back. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Whoops. We really got carried away here. There we go. And we did manage to end that particular item, but let's just see. Okay. Just going to close some of these off here. That's an interesting report. We want to see that. And this will just help me navigate more than anything because I have so many windows open. That's better. Bear with me just a little bit longer. Okay. seems like we're back to where we want it to be. So this is my Windows Server 2012 operating system MP, and I've selected referencing overrides. So this will be pretty much identical to the data that was in that spreadsheet that we were looking at earlier. And in fact, if I scroll to the right, we'll see the same column name, referencing MP name. Really glad this straightened itself out. I have to remember that Control-Alt-Delete and flip my screen because that seemed to really help. Anyhow, let's customize the grid, dragging referencing MP name up, and now at a glance, I've got all the data I need to find out where the overrides are stored. Because we can see I've got 85 of them stored in my good OR Windows Server 2012 monitoring. That's great. That's where I want them. Maybe. Then we have more MPs. I've got 456 overrides stored in the Microsoft Windows Server 2012 monitoring. Okay, so I have a feeling we deployed a new version of that MP after the fact, and I'm thinking that might have caused a need for a refresh in the data, and I'd run this report earlier, so that's my excuse and I'm sticking with it. We can see we've got 6 overrides stored in the Active Directory 2008 monitoring override MP. So we really messed this up. I did this on purpose because I really want to be able to amplify or put the emphasis on the fact that you could have overrides stored in lots of different places, and it could be tricky to know where they are. And so, sure, you could delete all of these override MPs and start fresh, but MP Studio has a feature that I think is yet undiscovered by the community, and hopefully all of you on this call will have some time to install the evaluation version and try this out for yourself. Now, what do we do next? I'm going to get to that shortly. Let me give you one more step to get there. Let's come back to the store database. And here you'll see I've created a folder called Cleaning Up the Mess. So this is a project folder. I can add management packs to that folder from a management group or from the file system. Okay, so that's how those MPs got there. So what I did was say, hey, I've got this very important job here. I don't want to modify these MPs online or live. So what I'm going to do is take a copy of all of those and put them here in my store folder and make the changes there. Okay, so let me clean up my beautiful drawings there. So the idea is to take each of them. You'd take the good override MP and you'd take the Windows Server 2012 override MP, put a copy in the database in the project folder that you've designated for doing your cleanup work. Okay, we're going to go do that, and I'm going to have lots of extra time here. So if you have questions and would like me to show anything else, please, by all means, submit those requests, and I'll do my best to demonstrate anything I haven't shown here. But it looks like we're going to have some extra time. Okay, back to this. We've discovered one way was to use this spreadsheet and scroll to the end. And there you can see the referencing MP name. That's one way to find your misplaced overrides. The second way is in the console. You can just open your sealed MP, select referencing overrides, and group by referencing MP name. And at a glance, you know where those are. And now the third way to find these. And this is very cool. If you own a copy of MP Studio, it will pay for itself running this one report. So I'm sure I've got your attention now, and that's very cool. So let me show you how I did this. I've already run this report. It can take several minutes to run, and so that's why I ran this before we started the session. Right-click on your management group, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to find all the overrides in your entire management group, and it's going to allow you to pinpoint which sealed MPs have overrides stored in multiple override MPs. I'm going to say that again. For the entire management group, this one report will show you which sealed MPs have overrides stored in multiple unsealed MPs. Don't believe me? Well, let me show you. Okay, how do we run this report? First of all, right-click on the management group and choose View Selected Management Packs. So this feature has been available for some time, but it's another one that it's just a little known feature, and so I'm happy to be able to share that with so many people on the call here today. And in fact, if you've run it in the past, we've made some improvements to this feature that are available in version 7.1. You could choose to just select all your unsealed management packs. Okay, so it's just selected the unsealed management packs. Or you might want to select just your sealed management packs. Okay, so, or you could just manually go in here and pick the ones you want. So play around with it a little bit. One approach that I like is I just go in and pick my monitoring MPs. And that's, I've already gone through this, so I'm not going to do it again. You won't really miss anything because I'm going to show you the result of this report, and that's where the value is. So I would go in and just pick, for example, my Active Directory monitoring MPs, my Windows Server 2012 monitoring MPs, so on and so forth. Okay, so I picked all the monitoring MPs, but you might want to just go in and pick the key management packs. That's what I would recommend. We're going to just clear all this and cancel out of that, and I'm going to go to this report. I've already run it. Okay, so I'll just draw your attention to the top. Notice the title in the middle panel here, the MP Contents panel. This is all selected MPs in my corporate management group. So if I was to pick, for example, monitors down here, and I'm not going to do it because it may take some time to even refresh that, there would be thousands of monitors in my management group, tens of thousands in yours, and probably multiple tens of thousands of overrides in your management group. Okay, so, but to discover misplaced overrides, select Referencing Overrides, okay, and then in the table on the right, in the Details table, it's going to show you all the overrides in your entire management group. And in my case, if I just draw your attention with the highlighter, up at the top you can see I've got 635 referencing overrides in my management group. That's not a lot, okay, but remembering the reason we came in here is we want to find out where those overrides are. And that's not easy to do, probably impossible to do natively. Okay, so we know the trick is to scroll to the right. This time you're going to find two columns. First, group by MP name. And so you can see I ran this only against 3 different management packs. Okay, but you could run it against dozens or all if you wanted to. And then drag referencing MP name up. And so at a glance, for my management group and the MPs I selected, and you would probably have many more selected, I can see at a glance, in minutes, I've got overrides for Active Directory 2008 stored in 2 different locations, including the good override for Windows Server 2012 monitoring. I've got 3 overrides in there that don't belong there. That's not good. I also have 11 overrides for Active Directory 2008. These ones do belong in there. Okay? So the job is to move these 3 out of there, out of the Active Directory, out of the override MP for Windows, and move them into the override for Active Directory, and then maybe do a test, maybe document, maybe generate the audit history because I need change management approval, and then deploy that out to my production environment. So I see we've still got lots of time, which is great. So let's go to the next MP. The Windows Server 2012 operating system, we knew that one was screwed up already because we saw the spreadsheet, right? And we saw the earlier view. And here's the same data, but remember, this is a view we created for the entire management group. So you're getting that 20,000 foot view for the management group and very quickly pinpointing the location of all misplaced overrides. I can export to Excel, and in minutes I've got this documented. Now my next meeting with the team, I can say, look, here's how messed up things are. We need to set aside, a couple hours a week, or depending on how quickly you need to solve this, we need to allocate some time to clean this up, and then operations manager is going to run better. This is a huge problem. Probably everybody that I work with has overrides stored in the wrong place, and now you've got a way to clean that up, and that's what we're getting to next. So once again, take these MPs, put a copy into your cleaning up the mess folder, and now you're ready to start doing some work. So let's do that. Let's get to the part where we do the cleanup. Okay, so we're going to come over here. And maybe just before I do that, I'm just going to select, if you did want to look at other elements in here, like you could pick monitors. There I've got 100 monitors in this management group so far. Okay, and you probably have thousands, but it does give you that 10,000 foot view of where and all these elements. Okay, and same here, you should have an MP name at the end if you wanted to group it that way. You can see here's all the MPs I'm looking at, how many monitors are in there, or rules, or what have you. But back to misplaced overrides. So how do we clean this up? Here is my cleaning up the mess folder. And let's see, my good override MP. Let's just open that one up first. Let's go here to overrides. Let's see what we can learn from this view. Okay, so grouping by context, I get a pretty good idea. The bottom several are my Windows overrides, and I can also tell Active Directory domain controller, that's not supposed to be in here. Okay, so I can right click and pick that. I could copy and paste it elsewhere, but I have a much stronger case for the move, because I'm going to actually clean up 2 MPs at the same time. So let's move this override, and let me point out the version numbers in the tab. This is a 10032. That's my source MP, and I'm going to move that override into this MP over here in the store, version 1002 of the Active Directory MP. So we're going to change 2 MPs pretty much at the same time. So we'll right click, choose Move Override. Now I need to pick the destination. Here it is, version 1002. And that's it. It's going to do the rest. So this is the Active Directory. That's the destination management pack. We're incrementing the version, and there's the details down below. Okay. Now we're modifying the source MP. This is the good OR MP, and there's been a few different changes here, but there's my deletion. Here it is down below. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and save that. So we modified 2 management packs. Let's do this. Just going to move 2 of them at the same time. And again, these are coming out of my good ORMP, which is now version 0.33, and I want to put them into the Active Directory MP. Pick the destination. So we're changing 2 MPs, incrementing the version, 2 additions. Click Save. Now we have to modify the source. Bump that up to version 3.3. It's 4 deletions. We're tracking that information. Save that. Okay, so we can see on the left-hand side we're getting multiple copies. The Active Directory MP is a version 0.4 right now. And trying to remember if we had some overrides stored in there that belong in the good override MP. You're starting to get the idea now. Let's have a quick look here and see how easy these might be to pull out. It's like doing surgery, you know. And MP Studio is taking care of things in the background for you. And so I've got 6 here that I want to move out. So let's just grab those 6. We'll do a bulk move. And we want to put those in the good OR MP. Incrementing the version, 6 additions. This is starting to look familiar, I'm sure, but we're really doing quite a bit of work here when you think about how much time it would take to do this if, number one, you don't know where those overrides are, and number 2, if you had to delete and recreate. Okay, so here's my 8 deletions. Okay, so we're done with the Active Directory MP. We're done with that good OR MP. And so, you know, I could continue on. I want to save some time for questions and for the group compare. So I do have one in this empty management pack that doesn't belong in there. I could open that up and you know, do the same thing, but it's getting a little bit repetitive now at this point. And I'm sure you understand what's happening. It's just a matter of right-click. I will point out that you do have, there's the one here by grouping by context. It's very easy to see which one it is. You do have an option, and I'm not going to move this into production, but I want to point that out, is I could move it right into a management pack in the management group. It just, I recommend caution because you could accidentally drop it in the wrong MP. I've done it. You could drop it in the wrong MP accidentally. So before you do that, just bear in mind, it's once you select it, boom, it's happening. Okay, and then you might have a little more cleanup work to do. But if you drop it in the wrong spot and you're not sure where you dropped it, that's even worse. But MP Studio could help you. You could run a backup and see which changes were made. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of here. And I talked about having multiple ways to deploy. You know, in terms of best practices, you'd want to do some things like document the changes, you know, look at your audit history, share that with your manager, or capture the spreadsheet so you can at least bring it to change management. You know, most of our banking clients that really have a lot of change management to go through. This gives you the accountability. You start handing in a spreadsheet showing who made what changes and when, and it shows, you know, the details. That's pretty good in terms of getting approvals and stuff. Okay, group compare. So I have 2 management groups, and when I run the group compare, this is going to compare all management packs. Let's do this. I'm big on the visuals here. I'm going to compare these 2 management groups and every management pack in there to the same copies in this folder, in the sealed folder. Okay, so I've got dozens and dozens of management packs in these 2 management groups, and we're going to compare all of them simultaneously to what's in the store database. And so let me just explain, why would you want to do that? Okay, real world scenario, a customer of ours had you know, upwards to a dozen different management groups. And there was a management pack that was designed to forward alerts to the ticketing system. But the management pack only got deployed to 11 of the 12 management groups. And this is important because, you know, you need to get on these tickets right away. And in terms of service level agreements, one entire management group, they lost visibility into the alerts from the ticketing system because the management pack didn't get deployed. This group compare is going to show you the version of every management pack in all management groups compared to the master copies in the store database. So let's see that report. Note you can also schedule this report, and I recommend you do. Another true story, I did this presentation for a company just a couple of weeks ago, and I was told it took him 6 months to do the same thing you're going to see here in less than a minute. Run this report just to identify the versions across multiple management groups. Sorry, I ran the wrong report. I meant to run the compare all management groups report. And let's create a little more real estate here. So again, back with the visuals and drawing. Approximately in the middle, this is my store database version of all management packs. And right beside it to the right is my lab management group. And then further to the right is my corporate production environment. So I've got potentially three different versions of management packs in there. But the idea here is we're comparing my two management groups to the copy in the store database. In the very last column, the path, this identifies the location in the store database where that MP sits. So we can approach this in several different ways. I could group by path and very quickly, hey, here is the folder I created cleaning up the mess. And if you look at this, you can just look, ignore the rest of the columns. You can see the store version, for example, for my good OR is a .35, whereas in the corporate environment, it's a .32, and it doesn't even exist in my lab. So if I want to, complete this and bring it full circle, I can just click on this deploy button. And look at that. It's picking up the reference management packs as well for my lab environment. Okay. So we could deploy all of these management packs to both management groups. I'm not going to go ahead and do that just yet. Let's come back here. Our Active Directory MP, the override MP for the Active Directory. So it's even the result column is giving me data. There's a newer one available. Okay, so I can hit the deploy button there. And this is actually wanting to grab several more references and deploy them. If you look at the group name at the very last column, where they're going to go. Okay, so I'm not going to deploy those right just yet, but you can start to see how easy it is to manage versions. Let's look at this from a different perspective. I'll drag path down and drag sealed up. So now I can focus on my unsealed management packs. Maybe I want to group by path. So let's see, my sandbox. Maybe I want to deploy this MP before I seal it. So if you're authoring management packs and you've done due diligence, you've done the documentation, you've done the testing, and you're ready to deploy, you could use this deploy feature to manage all your management groups, dozens of them at the same time. If you've got a mismatch in versions and you want to clear that up, you could do that right from here. So another way to group this would be sealed and result. This is probably the way I normally do it, unless I'm cleaning up the mess. So I can see right away I've got 27 unsealed management packs that are not in the group. Okay. And I've got 7 that are not in the store. This is also good information because I'm going to tell you right now, the best practice is put a copy of every management pack you have in your management group into the store database before you start your backups, because the backup won't work if you don't have your sealed MPs in the store database. Okay, just like SCOM, you need all the references in there. I'm just doing a time check. I see we're down to minutes, and you might be asking, hey, can I do this for a single management group? Yes, you can right-click on a single management group. You can run the group compare from here, because you may not yet want to deploy to all management groups, or maybe by intention you have a newer version of a certain MP in a management group. So I could just group by path. Here's cleaning up the mess. Let's grab that good override MP. There's a newer one available. Let's get that puppy deployed. And we can see down in the bottom left-hand corner that's being deployed. And that one's successful. Let's see if we can upgrade our Active Directory override MP. Hit deploy there. And that has been successfully deployed as well. We can come back in here if we just want to do a quick refresh. I've got management packs open. I'm going to close these down now so I can run that refresh. And very shortly, we'll be turning things over to John, who's coming up next. And yeah, we'll just do a quick refresh here. And it's quicker than the eye. I just want to make sure you know we did deploy those. Here's a good override. There it is, .35 deployed. Okay, excellent. It is 2:30. We'll just do a quick scan here. I see John has connected and is ready to go too. So John, I'm just going to take a quick minute and check over questions here. Can MPs created in a test environment be deployed directly to production? Also, can third-party MPs installed in test be deployed to production? David, my answer is yes. You know, I would say run your test first and make sure. That will give you an idea if there are any issues there as well. Okay. Next question, can I link external data sources to create update knowledge base in the MPs? And I'm going to say no there, Simon. It's a great idea. We often get requests, but they're sort of very isolated for modifications to the knowledge base. I would say, can I link external data source? Yeah, Simon, let's take that offline. I'm not really sure exactly what you mean if you're talking about a link, like a hyperlink to external data. I'm going to say that should work. But if you're looking to import knowledge-based data, that won't work. So, but you could copy and paste it in there. I would believe you could do that if you're looking to save time that way. Okay.